W.C. Handy,
who in 1892 heard a person in Memphis, a woman said that her man had a heart as cold as a rock thrown in the sea. He remembered that for 14 years, and he ended up putting it in the St. Louis Blues. But he was out of work and in Memphis and didn't have any money. And by the time he got to write the St. Louis Blues, it was the second blues record, the first being Memphis Blues. But if I feel tomorrow the way I feel today. So that started out on the 1 chord. The second time you repeat it, it's going to start on the 4 chord. If I feel tomorrow the way I feel today, gonna pack my grip, make my getaway. So this is a typical AAB format where you state something and then you follow up and say it again. And because of the chord progression, it feels differently. And you may say it or sing it differently. But somehow singing the blues tends to get them out and you feel better by the time you're done. So it's not a bad thing to do in the evening. This one started on the 1 chord, and so that's why I wanted to go through last week and make sure we are all clear on how we number the chords, what do we mean by a 1-4-5 progression, and this is just review from last week. This is a C chorded scale. Here's the 1 chord, count it out on your fingers if you need to, the 4 chords F, the 5 chords G, and would typically, in a blues particularly, we would be playing a G7th. Likewise, in the key of A, you have A, D, and E for the 1, 4, and 5 chords. So it's important to sort out what key are we playing in. So because blues is a format that is often, people adhere to this format. And you can sit in with a blues group and know what they're going to play, even if you don't know this song. If you know it's a 12-bar blues, you will be on the chord progression, just knowing where you are in the song and what key it is. So I would look at the guitarist's hand before you start sitting in, or if he will answer you as to what key he's playing in, it would be really nice. So if we move down a little bit here, we can see this is a 12-bar blues, 3 times 4. And the first row is all in the root chord, the number 1 chord. So this would be in the key of C, for instance. This would all be C. And we'd move to the away chord, the 4 chord, the F, back home, go to the 5 chord, the 4 chord, the 1 chord, and the 5 chord again. Because this is okay, but why not have it expand and contract more? And by expanding, I mean expanding like a balloon until you have tension, and then you would relax it. You would have more tension with the 5-7 chord. If you run the root chord all the way across, when you get to here, this will put tension in it and cause you to then flow to the 4 chord. It'll indicate that there's a change coming. And just to remind us where we get the 7th chord is we're taking the scale, the C major scale, using the 1, 3, and 5 notes as a major chord. Therefore, the C major chord is C, E, and G. We would then go up and find the 7th, and we want to use a flatted 7th, so we would use B flat and add that to our C major chord to get a C 7th chord. And that's what this sort of tension between the flatted seventh and the root, and also the flatted seventh and the third, are what makes this work. Okay. What I'd like us to do is to just play one down strum for each one of the slashes there, and we'll play through a 12-bar blues. And this is 12-bar blues in C for the GCEA folks. It's analogous for the baritone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, C7, F, C, G7, C. So that's a pretty tight 12-bar blues in C. Let's try it again, and now think of it just as the numbers. So the 1 chord is a C, the 4 chord is F, the 5 chord is G, and let's play it through again. It's going to sound very similar. C, C7, F, 4 chord, 1 chord, the 5/7 chord, 4 chord, so I went ahead and put in a turnaround there, and this is where it falls right during the last part of the 11th bar. So that is to set up the 12th bar and take you all the way back to the beginning. Suppose this is your last verse. Now there are songs that leave you hanging and you go, wait a minute, come on, I want to get off this train. And so we need to come back to need to resolve back to the root, okay, back to the C in this case, so you can finish the song. There may be a lot more creative ways to finish the song than just 5/7 and then C, but it's better than leaving you hanging on 5/7 because it always feels like it's unfinished. Okay, so we can see how to play a 12-bar blues in C. Any questions about that? So if I were strumming it, I wouldn't do anything different. But I'm playing a turnaround, which we'll get into in next week, I think it is. But that's where it goes. I'm just saying I wanted to put it in there as far as the structure is concerned. I must say, before I did this, I would not have been able to write that in where it goes. I knew when you played it in my ear, I knew when to play it. I would play it then. But as far as diagramming it out, it took a little doing to figure out exactly where this sits. And so that's why I'm showing it to you now, because we're looking at the overall structure of a 12-bar blues. That turnaround fits in not during the 12th bar, but during the 11th bar. Okay, so both things tend to make you move back to the 1 chord. As we play some songs, you'll see the same thing happen. Okay, we'll see it again and again. So, and the whole discussion about turnarounds is great, because I think that allows you an opportunity to express what you may be feeling, to play a different type of turnaround than maybe that's written, be creative, make up your own. There's all sorts of things you can do. Okay. So let's look at the key of A now. This is, these 2 keys are probably the easiest 2 keys to play blues in on a tenor or a concert GCEA tuned ukulele. So let's look at the key of A, and it'd be A, D, and E seventh. And just using down strums, let's play a 12-bar blues in A. 1, 2, 3. A seventh, D, A, E seventh, A, and then we would go back to A to start the next verse. So let's now couple that up with some lyrics so we can see how it feels. And I am just finishing this song as a whole. So we're going to play it in A. The one I'm going to send you is in G, because you can play along with Ray Charles. Ray plays blues piano for about 3 minutes. And so you can solo, you can play it, whatever. As long as you're playing in G, you can just work out on it and have Ray as your backup band. Hard to do better than that. Okay, so let's play the lowest section there, When the Evening Sun Goes Down. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the evening, baby, when the sun goes down. A7. In the evening, baby, when the sun goes down. Sure gets lonesome, don't it be lonesome, when your love is not around. So that would be a way to finish the song if we were trying to do that, end up back on A. Okay. There's a couple other 12-bar blues songs in the Uke Blues Songbook. Kind-Hearted Woman is particularly interesting in that you use a D7th and a diminished chord. So I would recommend you taking a look at Kind-Hearted Woman as well. We'll be playing that. So you could, a different form of blues is the 8-bar blues, okay? And it typically has this sort of situation. You can also jump to a 4 here, but let's play an 8-bar blues then. And this will be in A. Let's see if we can play it in C instead. Okay, we're going to play How Long in A just below that. So we're going to play it in C, the 1 chord C, the 4 chord is C, D, E, F, 5 chord is G, so that would be G7th. And we're going to use an F7th. We're going to use a 4/7, which is not uncommon in blues to use 7th chords for the 1, 4, and 5. Hardly ever happens in rock and roll. Okay. So the 8-bar blues would be 1, 2, 3, 4, C, C7, F, C, G7, C. So that's going to look the same. If we play it at a different key, I really want you to be facile between blues keys C and A in particular. So let's go ahead and play How Long in A as written there. 1, 2, 3, 4. How long has that evening train been gone? How long? How long? How long? So those are the two forms that are most common in blues. There's a 16-bar blues that is a little harder to use, I think, to learn at the beginning. So let's stick with these two. Key to the Highway is a blues standard. First time I ever played harmonica with a band, I walked in and ready to play anything they wanted to play, and they said, let's play Key to the Highway. I said, yes, this is one I know already. So that's the idea, is that you would have some vocabulary of blues songs that you could get along with. And I would definitely try to make some of these songs that we play your own, so that you can play it without a book. Okay. And this is probably the most important thing we'll work on today, is the shuffle rhythm. And listening to Leroy Carr, you can hear his hand doing it, dot, 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 his left hand giving it that shuffle rhythm. And if what we're doing right now is not the shuffle rhythm. That's 4, straight 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So with the shuffle rhythm, we'd be doing. Or. So for now, what I'd like to do is use an up-down rhythm to make it work. Let's first just reach over and play the G string, the lowest string, and try to feel this shuffle rhythm. Then use your long finger to reach across and. This is a way that I've found that I really think works for diagramming a measure of beats. So this is a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so these would be all eighth notes, okay? Quarter notes in this case, because we're playing it for the whole part of this measure. If you had beats in both places, they'd be eighth notes. Over here, we're playing this. So this downstroke is taking up 3/4 of the measure, and then you have a quick upstroke and then another downstroke. It's a. So the up is the short and the down is longer. And I guess I'm using some palm muting, which is possible. You can put your palm just to the string side of your bridge to control how much ringing you're getting, which I'm getting a lot from a resonator. That's why I'm doing it. So have we got this rhythm? Okay. Everybody with me on that? Try this. Just turn your uke over and use the back as a drum, okay? And first play just the straight D, 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 D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So for the shuffle rhythm, what we're doing is getting a little shuffle in there before you take your step. And so it's. that'll be fine. If you look at the last here, it says try the shuffle in A. And the idea is to hold the A chord. And that is your ring finger on the 2nd fret of the E string, making it an F sharp. And that's diagrammed at the very bottom of the page. So it's the same rhythm, and now we're not just playing one note, we're holding a chord. And instead of just playing the A, you're adding this ring finger, which gives you an F sharp minor, which is okay. Not important what to call it, but so that is another way you can use this shuffle, and that's the way we're going to use it in the second song that we play. Okay? So we will revisit that. Let's all go to How Long Blues then. And this intro is a standard type of turnaround, but it we don't necessarily need to play it. So it basically takes a A7th chord and steps it down to a G7. It sounds better if you don't play your 4th string. But for now, let's just start on E7th. Next week, we're going to spend a lot of time on turnarounds. I wanted to go ahead and put these on the sheet so you could see what you could use to get into this song. And it's a way to set you up, let you take a breath, let the audience know that you've started so they can stop talking, and let your other fellow musicians go, okay, we're about ready to start. So that's one thing that the intro does. You could play this same sort of intro as a turnaround, which would get you from this point, the end of the verse, to the beginning of the next verse, and it would happen right about here, okay? So both the 5/7 chord and the turnaround push you into the next verse, or bring you back to the beginning, either way. Okay. So I'm going to provide, this week I'll provide you with another, all right, so let's just start with playing E7th as our intro. 1, 2, 3, 4. How long had that evening been gone? How long? How long? Went to the station, didn't see no train. Down in my heart, I have aching pain. How long? How long? Baby, how long? I feel disgusted. I feel so bad. Thinking about the good time I once have had. How long? How long? You're gonna be sorry. You'll feel so blue. I want you, baby. I declare I want you. How saw you feel so blue, and when you want to, baby, declare I want to. How long? How long? How long? You won't play a solo? Don't have no money for the train. I would ride the rail, baby, be with you again. How long? How long? How long? I felt myself wanting to break out and do fancier stuff. So that is the sort of artistic freedom you can get off of this framework, okay? I wanted to do a little bit of a shuffle rhythm with my fingers, which we'll show you next week. And if you look ahead there, there's a, let me see. Let me give you this. This, at the first page of next week's material, there's a link to Kimo Hussey, which is showing you how to play ukulele by using your fingers like this. Sort of it's a brush. So you're using a brush up with your index finger and down with your thumb. So that's something that I would expect you to get over the time that we're doing this workshop. And we'll particularly look at Kimo Hussey, who's a wonderful teacher, explain the campanile type of playing. He's not going to play a blues, but this is an adaptation, which I think works great for blues. It enables you to pick. So I'm just strumming up and missing the first string. It's not that you're picking it so much, but you're brushing up against them. And generally going down on string 4 with your thumb, and we'll have plenty of chance to practice that, but that's another way to play this same shuffle rhythm. And I think it's one of the more important things that we're going to do today is to try to get this rhythm under your playing, okay? If you want to play it just up and down strum, that's fine for now. How many bars was this blues? Hey, you've got a show of fingers, right? That's great. 8 bars, correct, good. So that's the one we use for an example, but you can see this doesn't, it doesn't really use the AAB format, okay? So it's a different type of format than the 12-bar blues. We move on to Jimmy Reed. This is one of the most popular blues records there was, and both he and Mama Reed got involved with writing this song. It's similar to Baby You Don't Have to Go. So you could use that and just throw in some other verses, which was commonly done. It was not considered plagiarism. It was considered honoring a fellow blues musician, and nobody seems to bother because they all came from somewhere. And if you thought of some new ones, that's great. So I'd like you to look at down at the bottom of Baby, What You Want Me to Do. And I want you to look down here into this A shuffle and the D7th shuffle. And this A shuffle is just what we were doing on that other page. You're holding the A and you're then playing the second string with your ring finger, either open or on the second fret. So if you do play it, it's like a G7 pushed over towards you one string, right? So that's the A shuffle where you're shuffling between the open E, and this is an F sharp, back to the E, back to the F sharp. Then you would go to your D7th, which we're playing the quote Hawaiian D7th. And it's the quote easy D7th. It is also the D7 that doesn't contain a D, which is allowed, but that's the A shuffle. Then when you come to D, you could still, there's no reason you couldn't strum it. And you can add this G to it. And when you get to the 5/7 chord, you're still going to be playing an E7th. Okay. So that I like that effect for that chord coming from the open. So you don't have to hammer it on. You could just play the A-shaped chord. So that's an A right there, right? You're hammering. Any other questions about the shuffle? Because I think that's really where it is today. So I've got up Midnight Special, and we can look at this with new eyes, okay? What key is this in? So looking at it, this one starts in A, it ends in A, and the other, if we have a hypothesis that the this song is in A, then the 4 and 5 chords would be A, B, C, D, and E. And does that fit? Yes, it does. And in this case, the 5 is a 7th chord. And so that's as expected. And so this is just in the key of A and fits exactly. So nothing complicated about this, except they're talking about a train with a headlight that is going to change your life. Okay. Thinking back to Handy, W.C. Handy, William Christopher Handy. I don't know why I didn't like William Christopher. I guess it doesn't sound like a blues man, but he was a trumpet player who got told, you will never make a living with your trumpet there, son. You better get a job as an engineer, right? Sorry about that, John. But that's what his father told him, and he just persisted and said, I'm going to make this work. And sure enough, he did. It is unusual in that it has this minor sort of Spanish tango rhythm in the middle of it. So you should listen to St. Louis Blues sometime, especially the one by Betsy Smith, which I think is in the listing, because it all of a sudden shifts and you're into this tango rhythm and it's playing in minor chords, and then you're back to the blues again. And so some people might question whether it's a blues, but it was one of the first ones. And W.C. Handy is known as the father of the blues.